Florence, the city of art, architecture, and 200 types of pasta that all look exactly the same, but one is named Conchigli and the other one Orecchiette. It's literally the exact same thing, get over yourself. But anyway, Florence is the Renaissance capital, the land of art and beauty that gave us geniuses like Michelangelo and Dante. And tourists come every year for the wine, food, and the breathtaking cathedrals. History drips from every street corner. And apparently, every fist fight. Now, Italy is no stranger to violence. They in fact gave us the Roman Empire and the Sicilian Mafia. And drivers who use their horns more than their brakes. But Florence has something very special. Something uniquely theirs. You see, while most countries throughout history developed sports like football, rugby, and basketball, Florence decided to invent a game. Where, like all of the others, yeah, you score points with a ball, but in reality, this game is just an excuse to punch your neighbour. And not just punch them, kicking, grappling, headlocking, choking, and suplexing them into the dirt like it's WrestleMania, sponsored by the Vatican. Every year in the middle of Florence's gorgeous piazza, hundreds of people gather to cheer on 54 roided out tattooed lunatics beating the absolute piss out of each other and occasionally remembering that there's a ball involved. Outsiders call it insane. Italians call it culture. The Florentines call it heritage. And others call it a sport which is just a great excuse to beat people up legally. Calcio Storico Fiorentino. Please leave a like and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm. Hey, didn't see you there. What brings you to my precious party pit? Oh, you've got that one bad habit that just won't leave you alone. Ooh, don't worry, my sweet little sugar plum. I know just the man for you. He's strong, he's always there for you, he's my hubby, he's Fume. That's right, Fume is back and they are better than ever. For those not in the loop, Fume is the premier, nay gold standard flavoured air device with the mission of helping you ditch that one bad habit. And they're here with something new for you to suckle on. Introducing the Fume Zero. The newest innovation from Fume with a streamlined and refined chassis that's ever so classy. What's its deal? Well, it's quite simple insofar as it keeps it simple. Indeed, Fume Zero contains zero nicotine, zero electricity, and zero chemicals, just like the standard model. But without the hassle of replacing flavour cores. Meaning, it is a sleek and simple pluck and suck in a cool trim and a proper frame. Twistable, kissable, and chewable just like the original, but more tasteful and more affordable. And don't you worry, it does come in some of the ravishing flavours that you know and love, from crisp mint to raspberry and even a new peach blush. There's for certain something just for you. My heart has been taken by peach blush. He's just a peach and ever so sweet to me. I'm getting all bashful and gooey just thinking about him. So grab that old vape and make it ponder the meaning of entropy. As with Fume, you can tread the better path to ridding yourself of that one bad habit for good. So join over 500,000 sanguine suckle buddies today by scanning the QR code on the screen or going to tryfume.com to get zeroed in with the Fume Zero. Again, scan the QR code on the screen or go to tryfume.com to get zeroed in with the Fume Zero. And now, back to the video. To understand why grown Italian men spend their summers punching the absolute fucking marinara out of their fellow neighbours, we need to go back. Way back to the togas and blood era. The roots of this sport can be traced back to the Roman Empire. You see, way back the Romans had a game called harpastum, which sounds like an ancient STD. But it was basically ancient rugby with a lot less rules and a lot more beatings involved. The rules were very simple. Just get the ball past the other team. The method? Whatever the fuck you wanted. Punching, tackling, wrestling, kicking, maybe a cheeky little eye gouge or two, you were allowed to do whatever the fuck you wanted to get this ball past the enemy team. Athenaeus, an ancient Greek rhetorician and grammarian, once described harpastum as a game that is violent and full of bodily contact. Translation being that people didn't just lose a tooth over it. It was basically a prototype for MMA with a ball there just as an excuse. No helmets, no shin guards, just Italians beating and slamming each other into the fucking dirt because Caesar thought it would build character. Harpastum wasn't just a very brutal exercise, it was used to harden soldiers for real fights on the battlefield. So, fast forward about 1,500 years, and the city of Florence said to itself, This is great, I love this is one of my favourite things ever, let's keep doing this. So, it's 15th century Florence. It's thriving with art, philosophy, money, and so much silk that every cosplayer today would fume with envy. It was peak Renaissance. But while artists like Botticelli were busy painting very submissive and breedable angels, the nobles of Florence were busy inventing a new pastime. Gioco del Calcio Fiorentino, or translated, the Florentine kicking game. Now, you would think that a sport involving beating the fuck out of each other and invented by rich nobles, that it would be the peasants and farmers who would be brawling each other for the rich boys' entertainment. But no. This was a rich boy sport, like golf or polo or Magic the Gathering. If you weren't an aristocrat, you weren't allowed to play. Renaissance dukes, dripping in jewellery, were pausing between commissioning Michelangelo and banging their mistresses to go suplex another duke into the dirt in the middle of a piazza. It was high-class violence at its finest. And they weren't just your average delicate nobles. These guys went hard as fuck, no homo. And they weren't just trying to win, they were trying to show off. Ah, yes, behold my wealth, my palazzo, the fine velvet that I'm wearing, and my ability to fucking Batista bomb the Duke of Who Fucking Cares into the fucking cobblestones. Enter the Medici family. Because, of fucking course, there can't be a single event from Italy without them somehow being involved. Lorenzo the Magnificent, what a fucking name, patron of Leonardo da Vinci and arguably a general badass, in between bribing popes and bankrolling artists, was also known to find the time to punch a guy in the ribs over a ball made of a cow bladder. And it wasn't even just the Medicis. Even the fucking popes got in on it. Pope Clement VII apparently loved the sport, and Pope Urban VIII actually fucking refereed matches in the Vatican. Let me just repeat that. The literal Pope in his holy vestments decided whether choking someone out or poking their eye out of their skull was fair play. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Unless it's game day, in which case, cave their fucking skulls in. But if there is one moment that solidified this sport as more than just a rich boy's hobby, it was the Siege of Florence. February 17th, 1530, Emperor Charles V's imperial army is camped outside of the city, cannons loaded and soldiers ready to starve Florence into submission. Meanwhile, inside the walls, Florentines are hungry and pissed off. So, what do? They say, okay boys, let's play some fucking Calcio. So, right there in Piazza Santa Croce, as the city is being literally fucking bombarded by cannons, the Florentines set up their sandpit and started throwing hands at each other like it's just a normal Friday afternoon. Can you imagine being an imperial soldier, watching your cannons roar, and then you hear the screams of a crowd inside of the city, and then you look and see that your enemies are fighting each other in a fun sports ball match, with your cannon shots just whizzing over their heads? That match was legendary, and to this day, Florentines retell it like it's holy scripture. By the year 1580, the game was just so ingrained in Florence's culture that people didn't want to stop this tradition. But the game needed a rework. So enter Giovanni de' Bardi, a Renaissance nobleman, because people were just winging the fucking game and making up the rules as they went along. He decided to finally write a rule book. And those rules were as follows. 27 players per team and 4 teams in total representing Florence's 4 neighbourhoods. Santa Croce wore the blue shirts, Santo Spirito wore the white shirts, Santa Maria Novella wore the red shirts, and San Giovanni wore the green shirts. The ball was an inflated cow bladder. For all the silk and marble of Renaissance Florence, the best that they could do was punt around animal guts. But hey, now things were at least official. Bardi gave some structure to the madness. A sandpit, a clear number of players, some vague rules about the scoring, and a whole lot of do whatever the fuck you want as long as you stop the other guy. And with that, Calcio Storico Fiorentino had its DNA solidified. But Calcio wasn't just sport. It was part of the culture. Like how heroin use, teenage pregnancy, and blaming Westminster for stuff that is blatantly our fucking fault is part of Scotland's culture. Florence loved to show off, and Calcio was its biggest and loudest flex. The games were played seasonally, as part of the city's religious and civic festivals, because nothing quite says city pride like 54 men pummeling the fuck out of each other in front of the cathedral. And the rivalries weren't just for show. These games were basically neighbourhood warfare, because each quarter of Florence wanted to prove that it was the toughest, the meanest, and most willing to commit casual homicide in front of a crowd. Winning a match meant bragging rights for a whole year, and losing meant shame and mockery from your nonna until you redeemed the family name. So, after that little history lesson, how does this insanity actually work? Well, while tourists are normally busy eating their gelato and taking pictures, the trucks roll into the piazza and dump a ton of sand on the square. They then wall it off and put up 4-metre high goals at each end of the field, which is measured at 100 by 50 metres. Each team fields 27 players, a small army. And unlike other sports where you can swap people in and out, here you only get one shot. No substitutions, no timeouts. You got a concussion? Is your arm broken? Tough fucking shit. You keep playing or your team gets smaller. Did you get knocked unconscious? Well, you just turned into dead weight that your teammates are going to have to step over. So basically, one tactic of actually winning games, since there is no substitutions, is to purposefully give your opponents grievous and horrific injuries so that they can no longer play and you lower the numbers of the enemy team. The lineup is broken up into different roles. Roles being a very generous term. 15 of the players are called corridori, the forwards. They're the ones actually chasing the ball. Then 5 sconciatori, the halfbacks, who are supposed to move the ball between the runners and the defenders. But 95% of their time is usually spent beating the fuck out of the nearest person. Then 3 datori annansi, who are the big fucking fullbacks. And finally, 4 datori indietro, the goalkeepers, who serve as the last line of defence between the ball and the goal. That's how technically the composition should look and how it should work, but it legit means fuck all. Because once the fists start flying, the lines between rows start to blur into just who can hit the hardest without collapsing. The match itself runs for 50 minutes, 2 halves of 25 minutes each. And once the whistle blows, it's no breaks, no mercy. The way that you score is by getting the ball, traditionally a leather ball, which is now not so traditionally inflated by something less disgusting than a cow bladder, over the other team's wall. Historically, there were point variations depending on where the ball crossed the wall, but today it's just 1 point per successful shot. In theory, the ball is the most important part of the game. Or at least, you would think that. But in practice, it's more like an accessory. It's there, it matters, technically, but it's treated like more of an afterthought. The real goal is to beat the absolute fucking shit out of the other team. Violence isn't just incidental to the game, it's strategy. From the very start, both teams focus on reducing the number of opponents. If you can take out 2 or 3 guys in the opening minutes, your team's chances of winning skyrocket. Forget formations and tactics, this is mathematical survival. Fewer enemies equals easier scoring. And by the end of it, the winning team usually isn't the one who passed the ball better, but the one who took out the most opponents. Now, technically, there are rules. You can wrestle, tackle, elbow, choke and punch. But no kicks to the head, no punching behind the head, no tackling from behind that is above the waist, no ganging up with multiple players on one guy, and if you're on the floor wrestling, no punching. Sounds pretty decent on paper, but this is Calcio. Enforcement of the rules is about as effective as trying to make your Italian mother proud of you. Sure, referees might wag a little bit of a finger and give a red card from time to time, but when you've got over 50 guys brawling inside of a dust cloud, good fucking luck spotting whoever it was that threw that illegal elbow. At the very core of everything, the rules are much, much simpler. Don't die. And if you're still standing, keep swinging. Speaking of referees, yes, there are officials. Several of them, actually. There is a magistrato who is basically the head referee who enforces the rules, or at the very least pretends to. Then there are 6 linesmen and a maestro de campo, who is the master of the field that waves the flags to signal the start, stop, or any other important parts of the game. Their job is to maintain order, but in reality, they're just glorified spectators with flags and whistles. I mean, there is a reason why in MMA fights, the referee is a 300-pound guy that's built like a fucking truck, because he can actually stop the fight. In Calcio, they can shout stop all they want, nobody's going to listen to them. In fact, most of the officials spend most of their time just trying to not get fucking flattened themselves. And that is Calcio Storico's rules, if you could even call it that. 50 minutes, 27 men aside, a ball somewhere in the middle, I suppose, and referees clinging to the illusion of control. It's lawless, it's glorious, it's pure, unadulterated violence coated in tradition. And it's dressed up enough to convince everyone that it's culture. And it looks so much fucking fun. And if you ever wanted to watch the spectacle, the tournament is every June, with 2 semi-finals and the last round taking place on June 24th, the feast day of Florence's patron saint, St. John the Baptist. But of course, it comes with a price. People do get very badly hurt. Broken bones, concussions, dislocations, you name it. And sometimes the chaos doesn't even stop when the final whistle blows. In 2007, Santa Croce's team was actually banned after turning the entire piazza into a riot. In response, Florence city officials imposed a 1-year ban on the entire tournament, cancelling all matches for 2008. In the aftermath, around 50 players were investigated and taken to court on charges related to the violence. That scandal actually led to rule reforms to curb future incidents. The new rules being that players must now be actually born in Florence or have been a resident in Florence for at least 10 years and with no criminal history. With the changes aiming to reduce external influences on the game and also to ensure that only committed locals actually played in it, emphasising the sport's cultural roots over unchecked brutality. Despite the ban, the tournament resumed in 2009, and Santa Croce Azzurri has since become one of the most successful teams, with over 20 wins since 1979. So why does this sport endure? Because Florence doesn't fucking care, that's why. And it shouldn't, because the sport even got its own UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Certificate in 2015. There were even some movies made about the sport, but honestly, after watching the actual matches and comparing it to the films, they're not worth a mention compared to the real thing. Calcio isn't just about points and beatings. It's identity, community, and proving that your neighbourhood is tougher than the others. It's tradition so chaotic and so uniquely Florentine that nothing even comes close to it. Also, and just being very, very blunt here, men do need an outlet for some violence. Otherwise, we go insane. And that's the beauty of it. This game persists not because it's safe or fair or even sane for that matter, but because it's a part of history. Florence gave us many things, from art and fine wine to broken bones and concussions. And honestly, that's culture at its finest. And with that being said, here are the best moments of this year's finale between Rossi and Verdi. It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.